The Project Tribute Foundation is a 501c3 nonprofit dedicated to aiding our nation's first responders. Our vision and mission is to enhance the life-saving capabilities of our first responders through raising awareness and funding for the life-saving work that they do. Our goal with the podcast is to be an educational avenue and a method for our heroes to express themselves. In the podcast, we will discuss various tough subjects. Some of the subjects may be uncomfortable or controversial. Our guests have the right to share their thoughts and ideas, and for our listeners to hear the unedited words of our guests. The Foundation's role is to showcase a diverse array of thoughts and opinions within the first responder community. If you hear something that you do not agree with, please consider reaching out to us at projecttributefoundation@gmail.com and join our podcast. If you're a first responder and you would like to share your story, we truly would love to hear from you and learn from your experiences. Please enjoy this week's show, and as always, like, comment, and share to help us grow. You can find more information at www.projecttribute.com. Thanks, and have a great one.
It's pretty cool. So,
You want to age yourself? How many years later?
I'm 37.
There you go. 15 years later.
I got one of my students the other night asked me if I had graduated high school. I said, "You're joking, right?"
If you're listening on the podcast, you can check out the video and see how young Jared looks. But yeah, I don't know, we just seem to come back to it. And then I do want to say, like, if you need a break, if you cannot do this job, if you decide this job is not for you, that does not make you lesser of a person, right. And that does not make you weak. And I think that is part of the stigma with mental health, is like, oh my gosh, you need to take a break. The thing that I am most proud of in my career is saying I'm going to take a break and actually taking a break. Thank you.
We just gave each other a high five.
Like, by far, because I was doing nobody any good. I was doing a future family just damage by staying.
You are very self-aware, which is probably what is saved you. I mean, that's probably what saved you.
Yeah. So
in many ways, is you just being self-aware enough to say, I need this, and then take that step, right?
Yeah. But there are so many people who
don't do that.
I'm just worried. Yeah. Feel like they have to stick it out. They have to tough it out, because that's, I don't know, what they were taught when they were little, or that's just the narrative that they repeat to themselves all the time. And that's the standard they hold themselves to. But like,
well, I know I got judged for
people
leaving. They were like, you're crazy.
Yes.
Why are you doing this?
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with this profession.
Yeah.
I love it. I will always love it.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, I had fully intended on not coming back to fire or EMS.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think I was fully okay with that quite yet.
Yeah.
Which is probably why I was like, okay, I'm gonna go get this job. I'm gonna go back here.
Yes.
So
take a dang break if you need it.
Well, and for me, it's a little bit, it's the same but different, right? I realized that, I might not take a 2-year sabbatical or whatever. I mean, that would be awesome.
Yeah.
But the biggest thing for me is that, and I had a hard time doing this when I first started. I lived, ate, breathed. Is that a word? It's a word.
Oh, you threw me off. Yeah.
Yeah. Fire and EMS all day, every day.
Yes.
I was a volunteer. I had my pager on.
Yep.
My
Checking
person
the news
on all the time.
Yep.
I was looking at all the stuff on, social media.
Scanner
I had
pages.
I had the little app that would say where the trucks were and what they were doing.
Yeah.
I learned pretty quick that I can't do that. I need a break. I need a mental break from that. So
yes.
Not to say that I'm not involved in some way when I'm off duty sometimes,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not all I think about.
Yes.
I do my job when I'm there, and when I go home, at least for that time being, I'm home.
Yeah.
I need to be present there, and I need to leave my work at work, right?
Yeah.
And not to say that I don't come home and share stories with my wife, or get off my chest whatever I need to do, but for some people that's fine. That's what they do. They live, they breathe. That's what they do.
Yeah.
24/7, 365. Yeah. We need people like that, but that is not me. I need that break. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And on that, I'd say also, if you are like I tend to, kind of said it earlier, just think whatever I'm doing, other people need to do. I've always sort of struggled with that. So if you think that to really be in the job and to be passionate about the job, you need to eat, live, breathe, fire, EMS, PD, whatever it is, 24/7, and you need to come in on all your days off, and you need to take all the overtime. that is offered you, like that might not be the truth for other people. I know that I cannot work overnights, and so I say no to working overnights. And people are like,
Oh, I wish I had that choice.
I know, yeah, and I've set it up to where I do have that
Yeah,
choice,
that's-
you know.
but you know
Yeah.
you know your limits. You
Yes.
know what works for you, and
Yes.
you set standards for yourself.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Yeah,
I
so
mean,
I'd
that's-
say like let people.
Another high five.
Oh, sorry, I just kicked
Technical
the microphone.
difficulties.
I guess just like respecting other people's decisions, and that's part of the peer support. And just, I don't mean peer support in the official sense of a peer support
Again,
team, but just supporting.
It's a culture thing,
Yeah,
right? I mean,
your people.
Yes.
So-
Which I mean, I get like when the guys that gave me shit for leaving, right?
Yeah.
Did it not because they thought I was making a wrong decision. You know, they were very passionate about this job,
Yeah.
about this profession.
Yeah.
As they should be, as I am as well. And you know, I think I'd like to think that they were just saying that because they didn't want to see me leave. But that's just me being selfish, and my head just grew a little bit. But no, I mean, it's. I knew they were just giving me crap, right?
Yeah.
But I definitely know there are people that thought of me differently.
Yeah.
When I made that decision to leave,
For sure.
because I mean, Lawrence is a great department. I mean, I was set up. I mean,
Yeah.
it pays well. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it's ISO rating of 1.
Yep.
How many years in a row?
No idea.
Very good department.
Oh, yeah.
Very good staff. Very good, continuing education, training, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Good equipment. If you were to pick a professional department to be on, and it's a cool town, right?
Yeah.
Lots of cool,
Yep. Lots of diversity.
Yeah.
Just in the.
So I think that was like, what
graphics.
people were like, you're doing what?
Right.
You're going to go do woodworking? What? Yeah.
Yeah. Heck yeah. So yeah,
But-
if someone needs to live, eat, breathe it, I personally am like, I wouldn't recommend that for anyone, but for some people that is okay and that works.
Yeah.
But for people who know their limits,
That we need to know our limits.
yeah,
Right?
know your
And that's
limit and then
that's
respect each other's limits.
Yeah.
If they say no, they can't work, then there's no point in like, wow, what a lazy, like, you don't know what's going on in their life.
Right.
Kind of coming back to that. You have no idea what's going on in other people's lives.
Well, and you got to think too, I mean, and this is true for the most part, especially when you're new. If you're not getting, I don't say harassed, that's not a good way to put it, but
Picked on.
if they're not giving you shit, like joking with you, playing around with you, messing
Yeah.
with you, playing little pranks, whatever.
Yeah.
If they're not doing that, is a bad sign,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
I mean, if they're leaving you alone and not really being engaged or
Mhm.
doing that, there's something,
Yeah.
And it could be a personnel issue, but anyway, it's one of the, I don't know. I'll go back to the same thing too. You got to be a certain type of person to do what we do sometimes.
You just got to pick, in my personal opinion, pick on people for
The right reasons.
the right things.
And it needs
So-
to be appropriate for the situation.
Yeah.
And we get good at reading people
Yeah.
and all that too.
So I get what you're saying, but like, I don't know. I just personally would say there's no point in giving anyone crap for turning down a shift because again, you
Correct.
don't know what's going on in their lives, and there's no point in giving someone crap for being annoyed after a call because you don't know what that call did to them. I mean, calls that were 20-year-old girls were really hard for me because I was a 20-year-old girl.
That was you. It was weird. It's weird coaching people that are
Yes.
older than you.
Yeah. And no, I want to say nobody ever got it, but it just seemed like most of the guys on the department who are older, who are not 20-year-old girls, who were never 20-year-old girls, just couldn't get that. And so
You
everybody
can't
has
empathize. I will
different-
never be able to empathize. Like
Yeah.
my wife right now, she's 4.5 months pregnant.
Mhm.
Uh,
Right.
I'm speechless most of the time. I'm just like, what do you need? What do you need me to do? I'll go get something. I'll rub your back. Put your feet up.
Yeah.
I can't. Nope.
Yeah.
Mm-mm. I would make a horrible woman. I'll tell you that right now.
It's good that you know that about yourself.
hmm So back to you. We kind of brushed on a little bit. What do you think helped you? I guess, what do you think helped you the most? I know you talked about, the therapy and having good, friends and family that surrounded you.
Yeah.
You took your little sabbatical.
Yeah.
I mean, if you had, I guess if you had any advice for somebody that's in your situation that you were in back in Lawrence, right?
Yeah.
what advice could you give them? And I know this is a very general, you can't, I mean, everybody's different, right? But from your experience, if you could go back and change something that you think would have made the biggest difference in just not waiting for 2 years to do something about it, right? Because I'm sure that was I can't imagine how miserable that was.
It was miserable.
And we have a stressful job as it is.
Yeah.
I cannot imagine how that affected you. And I'm sorry that you had to go through that.
Yeah.
But if you could go back and change something or just have a suggestion for somebody that's in your situation, what would you say? I know that's a loaded question.
Yeah, it is.
And there's probably more than one answer.
Yeah. A community, good community, and people who are invested in your life and are going to hold you accountable to just being the kind of person you want to be. And that came from my friends, and that came from my church family. And I understand not everyone, I've had plenty of friends who've had a really hard time finding good community. I'm fortunate enough to have found it, but like, you got to seek it out, and it can be within your department. If you're not a first responder, it can be within your job, whatever. But just having people hold you accountable for your actions, for your attitude. Like, when I was just so angry and pissed off, I had a community that let me feel those things. But also, as we got to know each other and as they got to know me, there's just a piece of accountability where I know that they are watching me. And I don't mean that in like a super direct way. It wasn't like I was asking people,
it's like going to the
pay
gym,
attention.
right?
Yeah.
Like, you're going to be more apt to go to the gym if you have somebody to go with you to keep you accountable.
Yeah.
Same kind of deal.
Yeah. That's a great analogy, metaphor, whatever it is. So just having the community and knowing that people care about me. That's the other big thing. Like, if I'm in community, I know that I have people who are invested in my life, who want to know what's going on. So that would be a huge piece. Not compromising your beliefs, your morals. It's really hard to not do that, I feel.
Especially when you're sleep deprived and stressed and everything else. Yeah.
All the things that go into that. But sort of, this feels cheesy to say, I'm like, knowing who you are, but like,
well, I've already talked about you being very self-aware. I mean, that's not to go back to I'm not ever going to say names. That's not my place to do, but lieutenant captain, right? The only thing that was different, because he was very militaristic in everything he did, right?
Yeah.
After shift, we always pick up, we lay out our fire gear by the fire truck so that if we get a call, right, we go right to the truck, put our stuff on, and we're ready to go. Yeah. It's a speed thing. He was always very good about, after our shift, you take your stuff, you talk to the oncoming crew about whatever you guys did the day before, take your gear, put it in your locker, put it in your truck, whatever, take it wherever you want. And looking back at it, we can armchair quarterback this all day.
Yeah.
But he left all his stuff right there. Didn't even touch it. His helmet was there. His boots and bunker pants were sitting right by the captain's seat. Jacket was still hanging on there. Radio harness was still hanging on the truck.
Dang.
I don't know if you know. Did you know that?
No.
Yeah. So that was really the only, thing that we saw, but that was after the fact, right?
Yeah. Nobody
thought, I'm sure they just thought, oh, he's just tired and forgot, so they put his stuff up for him.
Yeah.
Nobody thought twice about it.
Right.
So do you wish that you would have reached out to, because most people, just like he was a hard guy to read anyway.
Yeah.
But he was such a loving guy all the time. Always cared about everybody else, was always wanting to do training, was very good at his job. I mean, and I'm sure he was struggling just like you were that whole time.
Yeah.
It didn't have any outward, like, you said when you woke up at night, you were angry.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I mean, we all got kind of pissy sometimes with running the BS calls at 3 a.m, same person for the third time that day, whatever.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I know that's a cultural thing too. It's hard to reach out when you think there might be some repercussions about that. But
Right.
Do you wish you would have reached out sooner?
Um,
Or do you think that you kind of had to process all that stuff before you were actually capable of moving forward and, dealing with your issues?
yeah. And like you said, everyone's different, right? I'm obviously not saying this is what everyone should do. I do think that
It's all about you, Kat.
had it been like forced, obviously that wouldn't have been super helpful, right? But there is a level of like pushing people, persuasion, in some instances that is appropriate. Like, no, like you need to go get help. Nope, like I need you to go see a therapist. And that depends on your relationship. And that brings me back to community. It depends on the community you're in, Have you built relationships with people where they can call you out? Like my friend called me out and said, if you're going to be on peer support, you need to go make sure you're getting help yourself because you're not okay right now. So
it's a good peer support team member.
He
called you out.
Wasn't on the peer support, but
oh, he wasn't.
No,
okay,
no.
He'd probably make a good one.
He would. He knows who he is.
I think I know you're talking about too.
But so it's hard to say yes or no. Where I'm at now in life, it's wild to be sitting here and talking about this. I'm super thankful. I'm super grateful. There are, distinct memories I have of being by myself and just crying and praying that I was just dead. And so being here now, talking about this, not wishing that, I'm like, that's
awesome.
I was going to cuss. Do you have to
say whatever you want?
That's fucking awesome.
Yeah, I would totally agree.
So yes, like doing it early, there's just no way of knowing.
Right.
Had it been a different path, what would have happened. I'm thankful for the way it happened. I grew a lot. There was a lot of crappy stuff that I'm still working through that happened over the last 4 years, 5 years, whatever. But therapy is hard. It's supposed to be hard. Your therapist is not there to tell you exactly what to do. They're there to just facilitate a place where you can process things and learn coping skills. That has been the most helpful for me. Medication, again, I'm not pushing either of these things on people, but medication did make a big difference for me. And I started that.
Well, a lot of this is a brain chemistry problem, right? And you can't, it's hard to get to a good place if you can't at least kind of reset that chemistry in your brain. So then that's what a lot of those medications do. I know they have some pretty shitty side effects coming on, starting them and coming off of them, because most of them aren't like permanent, right? For the most part. So, a lot of them are somewhat temporary.
Okay. Yeah.
But yeah.
So medication. And I only started medication like 6 months ago. But it has sort of taken the edge off, and everybody has a different experience.
I mean, everybody's individual, but
I was fortunate enough to find, the first one I had. Actually, I'll say it didn't really work at first. I started a dose, that I think was too low, but a normal dose you would start at. And I had about a week of actually being really suicidal.
Mm-hmm. And that's
a
known.
I remember telling my doctor, I'm like, okay, listen, like I know that this is a big deal. And so that's why I've called you to let you know. But I'm also very used to this. And she was like, well, that's sad. And I was like,
she said that's sad.
Yes. I mean, she was just
sad.
Like, that's a bummer. And I haven't been that suicidal for a long time. But
you knew it was because of the medication, because nothing else beside that
I wasn't
changed.
100% sure, but looking back, I'm like, that made sense.
Yeah. In the moment, probably not. But.
Yeah. And it is wild how easy you can kind of fall back into that. Like I was like, oh, my old friend, suicidal thoughts.
There are what's called triggers.
Yes. But medications helped. And so I figured out that dose. Point of that story being not without the trial and error, but I was fortunate enough to find pretty quickly the right medication, the right dose that worked. And that has sort of taken the edge off of, I think, just the overthinking and the constantly sort of wheel spinning all the time.
So like in my EMT class, we preach about, self-care and kind of being self-aware.
Mm-hmm.
So you're the outlier in my experience. You have mean, it's great. I'm so glad you're here. Like I said, I'm sorry you had to go through all that, but
Mhm.
you know, it made you the person you are here today,
Yeah, for
present. So,
Yeah.
we talk about, you know, self-care, and there's one thing might work for one person and not work for another, but all I can say just from my outside perspective is that you need to find something or someone, you know, if it's riding your bike, if it's,
Yeah.
you know, going to Colorado and going mountain climbing, I don't know, whatever,
Yeah.
working out. I think, speaking, just quick little tangent,
You're good.
this is my nerd science spiel. So this happens to everyone. You know, you have a stress reaction, right? So somebody pulls out in front of you in your vehicle and you got to slam on the brakes, right? You get that rush of adrenaline. It's that fight or flight response.
Yeah.
There's a chemical that is released when that happens called cortisol. So if you look up cortisol, I mean, it has its place and your body makes it. It's for a reason, right?
Yeah.
And it is directly related to stress, whether that stress be good or bad, doesn't matter. There are very few ways that your body gets rid of that, one of which is exercise. It burns it off. But if not, you store it in your fat cells. So it stays there and
Interesting.
it builds up and builds up and builds up over time. And what that does is it leads to obesity. It will lead to depression, sleep problems, anxiety, brain fog that we talk about. So this is just a normal person, right?
Yeah.
So now you take that same scientific, you know, chemical, and you put it into our profession,
Yeah.
right? And we're dealing with this on a constant basis. So
Yeah.
we've got loads and loads of this cortisol running through our bodies, and it's a long chain reaction, right? Because when I first started, I worked out every day. I was doing CrossFit, I was, you know, Hungo, whatever. The longer I've worked, and I've since changed, right? I've realized some of this stuff, but I quit working out as much. I was always tired. My eating habits changed. And I'm not saying that's all because of,
Right.
you know, cortisol,
Yeah.
you know, whatever, but the stress
Yeah.
is that's the trigger,
Yeah.
right? And so if I don't take care of myself, if I don't work out, it's going to I know for a fact that it's going to get worse.
Yeah.
If I don't sleep well on my days off, it's going to get worse. So I'm not a spokesperson by any means whatsoever. So about 6 years ago, this is my second one. I broke my first one. So this ring is called an Oura, O-U-R-A. And so I figured out that, kind of like you, it's funny that you said, you know, you get cranky when you get woken up in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
I need sleep. I can tell you right now, and it does not get it gets no easier the older you get. It gets harder. I recently had a shift that I didn't even lay down 24 hours. I mean, we were running call after call after call. And I got home and it took me 3 days to recover. And I was sleeping pretty well on my days off, but it took me 3 days for I felt like my normal self.
Yeah.
But this ring tracks my sleep. So it tracks my deep sleep, my light sleep, how many times I wake up at night. It tracks my heart rate variability, my body temperature, how much REM sleep I get. So REM sleep is the restorative sleep.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not going to go into all the science stuff right now, but so I could then start using this as a diagnostic tool. So if I ate a meal too late, I would notice that my heart rate would be much higher and I didn't get as much REM sleep. If I drank alcohol too late, so I started messing with those variables to help me optimize my sleep. And I think that's one of the things that's helped me out.
That's awesome.
The most
is
just getting consistent sleep, because there's no guarantee you're going to sleep on duty, especially if you work 24-hour shifts.
Yeah. That's freaking awesome.
So just a little side note there.
Yeah.
But
sleeping, now that you bring it up, not sleeping, working out, one of the small turning points in my mental health deteriorating very quickly when I was with the fire department was I rolled my ankle very, very badly. And I was I was off shift for only like a day or so. But it was not being able to work out. And that just messed with my mental health and my head. And I didn't realize it for a while, but looking back, it was like, oh man, that hurting my ankle. And it didn't break, but it about broke and it snapped.
I'd much rather break my ankle than sprain my ankle.
Dude, it snapped when I heard it.
Ugh, makes me nauseous.
We were walking up actually to a fire, and with all my gear and my partner, because I was on the ambulance, so it was just two of us. He heard my ankle.
Well, at least it happened on duty.
Yeah, he heard my ankle, and that's the only reason he stopped. He stopped and turned around.
Were you on the medic truck when this happened?
Yeah.
I remember this happening. I was still there.
Yeah, and then I walked around and did the, the rest of the.
We made fun of you.
Oh yeah,
because it was a fire, like a big fire.
It was going to be my first.
And it was a hot day.
Fire.
We had because I think I was rehab that day. I was changing everybody's bottles out and giving them water, and
maybe
that's never fun. I mean, I hate getting stuck on a medic truck on a fire.
Well, we were going to have a cool assignment because I remember my partner was like, sweet, like we got there. And then I am walking up to the house and I just snapped my ankle. And so it delayed us a little bit, but the adrenaline, I'm like, oh, I'm fine. So I keep going.
That 4-letter word. I'm fine.
Yeah, but it messed with, I wasn't able to work out for a long time. And yeah, it definitely has an effect on mental health.
Well, and for me, do you think I want to go work out after working my ass off all night and not getting sleep?
No.
So that's why I started, it's funny because you kind of slowly start putting this stuff together. So this is another reason I do this podcast, is to tell people, hey, I've done this. This is what worked for me. If you're in a similar place, try it. Right.
Yeah.
Give it a go. But when I kind of put that puzzle together, that it was because of my sleep, it was so much easier for me to be able to start adding stuff or taking it away, because I knew what it was doing to me. Because I mean, I can tell based on, because I sync this to my phone every morning, and it gives me a little score, and what I can. Oh, you're doing great.
Yeah. 4
stars, whatever. But you can pretty much tell when you wake up in the morning within the first 15, 20 minutes if it's gonna be a good day or not. And then I had concrete information to confirm how I was feeling.
Yeah.
And it was just, that's how my brain works.
Yeah.
I don't know, that might not be how everybody else's does, but that's what kind of helped me. So
yeah.
Cool. Well, I mean, we're pushing.
I know we were supposed to take a break.
No, it's okay. Let John do all the editing.
Great. There's, I guess really only one other thing that I wanted to touch on.
Yeah.
It's been a while, right? How long have we been here?
Stay here all day and talk for all I care.
I'll fall asleep. Okay, do you want to take a break then, or you want me to take a break?
Yeah, I'll take a break.
I'll say this stuff.
This podcast is hosted by the Project Tribute Foundation. We are a 501c3 nonprofit dedicated to aiding our first responders. Thank you for listening. For more information on our efforts, check us out at www.projecttribute.com. If you're a first responder that would like to share your story, contact us at projecttributefoundation@gmail.com. You can find us on various social media and podcast sites by searching the Project Tribute Foundation. 100% of donations are used to save lives, while our retail store pays for any of our operational costs. Thank you again, and please be sure to like us, follow us, and share our foundation with your friends. Thank you, and have a great day.